Book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 21. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times.
It ain't nowhere that I can't go. You see me, you see him, I'm like children in the flame though. It's because I follow him though. He the light to my feet, it's like flames what I follow. But let me stop for you heathos. I've been crossed many times, so yes, I know the payo. And forgive is where I ain't go. Told the brother get in line, giving shots like a needle. I've been sinning for real, murder, but I ain't killed for real. Shot for shot to seal the deal. Now I'm here to swallow the pill. Now I'm woozy, don't know how to act. Devil is mine, I'm fully attacked. My spirit to flesh had taken it back, and I ain't thinking about bringing it back. Tap, tap, I think I ain't hear it right. The Lord come like a thief at night, but I ain't believe the hype. Yeah, like Saul when I seen the night, but had me feeling like Paul when I found the light. Cap, 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 cap. You say you love your people, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you don't be lying, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say cap, 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 cap. You say you love your nation, but that's cap, cap, cap. You swear you done with envy, but that's cap, cap, cap. You say you did atonement, but that's cap, cap, cap. I say.
So Peter said, if a brother sin against you, he offended. He does something unlawful. Could have took your money, could have tail barreled against any of those types. How many times should I forgive? 7 times? Because 7 was a complete number. What did the matter?
Jesus said unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
All right, y'all. Shalom, shalom. Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath. I'm Brother Jacob.
Captain Al.
And we're going to try to pick up where we left off yesterday. But as customary, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 3. To the commission, before the commission was given to the disciples. Yeah, verse 11. Just verse 11.
The book of Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 11. And go get thee to them of the captivity, unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thus saith the Lord God.
Right.
Whether they will hear or whether they forbear.
So we have to go to our people, you so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called whatever, because we scattered throughout the earth.
Right.
We have to find our people and tell them, you need to repent because the kingdom is at hand. The Lord is going to bring destruction, and the only way for you to avoid it is you have to repent and turn back to his commandments in the faith of Christ. So we're dealing with the Russian eagles and the Ukrainian eagles who are being instructed and backed by the biggest hateful bird of them all. You know what place we're talking about because we're living in it over here. So when we ended the class, we were watching a video of the coup d'etat in Maidan. So let's go back to that video, Judah, where they were leading their own people to the slaughter. Yeah, the one with, it said tonight's class. Right. So there was a professor that had done research showing that this whole thing was part of a staged coup. So let that rip.
Someone who has been gathering this evidence is Professor Ivan Kachanovsky from the University of Ottawa in Canada.
Professor Kachanovsky kept investigating the events of the Maidan massacre during the last 5 years. In his extensive scientific research, based on a cross-examination of the video and audio files throughout the timeline of the shooting, he got much further in his investigation than all of the official teams together.
This was quite unprecedented to have so many television cameras, basically, so many journalists following and witnessing such a mass killing. On mostly all television networks in the United States, in Canada, Ukraine, Germany, Poland, all different countries, with exception of Russia, it was presented basically as evidence that this was massacre by police.
Here, police fire on protesters with AK-47s and sniper rifles.
During the 5 years of official investigation of the Maidan massacre, very important facts were completely ignored. Snipers were located in buildings under the control of protesters. During the investigation, Professor Kochanovsky discovered even more horrifying facts.
And only recently, actually, I found a footage which was filmed by this Belgian television from Hotel Ukraine. This video shows they were walking to the spot of the massacre. They were not walking just on their own. They were led by 2 other protesters who were very loudly calling them to this site. No reason to go there. And they were specifically called into this massacre spot.
Victims were escorted to the places it was planned for them to be killed and filmed. In Professor Kuchanovsky's investigation, that was based on scientifically organized analysis of all available video and audio recordings, he reached a conclusion. The Maidan massacre was key in a plan of an ongoing coup d'etat, and killings were planned in advance.
There were 2 interviews published in the recent book by a Ukrainian pro-Maidan journalist. And in this book, they produced interviews of 2 far-right leaders of Ukraine. One was head of Svoboda Party, and another was the deputy head of the parliament of Ukraine at the time of Maidan massacre, who was also one of the leaders of this far-right Svoboda Party. And they and Maidan leaders met with some senior Western officials. And this Western official told them basically that killings of a few protesters is not enough for Western government to change support. They said specifically, end of recognition of Yanukovych government basically would change only if number of victims would be 100.
All right, so that's where we left off, y'all. Showing you that the, we're referring to them as the Eagles, but the Eagles over here where we live, they control all of the Eagles that are underneath them. They're the ones pushing them to do the things that they do, and collectively, they go throughout the earth and do the same thing. They cause chaos wherever. There's a documentary called Zeitgeist, and the guy goes into detail. He was one of the men that they would send in, and the things that they did were financial. If you didn't agree to do what they wanted you to do financially, take the country over financially, then they would send in their henchmen to threaten. And if you didn't do that, then they would send in the war machine. All of it is a part of the eagle. His claws, his feathers, all that stuff. So these men, they put together a plan for a coup d'etat. They wanted to get the United States government involved. And like you saw, they would only do it if a certain amount of people got killed, because they have to sway the people to go along with the evil that they're going to do. They don't care what the lie is as long as they get their bottom line. They need to turn the people in their favor to give them permission to go and do the things that they do. So I just sent you the link of Jimmy Dore, who's a comedian, but he goes into this stuff also. Now, he is going to talk about what we saw. So pull that clip up.
Look at this. So people are saying just total fiction. how Putin is using Nazi propaganda to defend invasion of Ukraine. So they're saying there's the allegation that the Ukraine military has, and the government has neo-Nazis infiltrated and embraced by the government, actually. And here's the PBS NewsHour. Remember, it's funded by oligarchs and the government, so you're not getting the truth from PBS, even though you think you are. You're just as bad as anything else out there, PBS. Analysis: Putin's claim that war on Ukraine is to target Nazis is absurd. Here's why. So he says he's going to fight those Nazis. So in case you don't know what's happening, there was supposed to be an agreement in 2014 called the Minsk Agreement, which after they overthrew the government in Ukraine, they kept shelling the people in eastern Ukraine, right, who didn't want to go along with the overthrow. And so those people are ethnic Russians. So they identify with Russia, and they didn't want to be part of this new undemocratic government. And so they would shell them, and they killed 14,000 of them over the last 8 years, even though there was supposed to be a ceasefire in 2015 called the Minsk Agreement. And so Putin says he's going in to stop that slaughter of those people in the east of Ukraine, which the Ukraine government hasn't stopped shelling. Now, that is true. Now, I'm also against his invasion. War is not a good idea. So, but here, there's PBS claiming that there is the claim of Nazis is wrong. And there was also People magazine got into it. So here's Alex Rubinstein. So we're gonna lay this all out for you. This will be nice. He says, watch Yevhen Karas, the leader of Ukraine's neo-Nazi terror gang, C-14's speech from Kiev earlier this month. Straight from the horse's mouth, he dispels the many narratives pushed by the left, the mainstream media, and the State Department. So he's going to brag about he's not denying he's a Nazi, and he's going to brag that of all the influence they had in the coup, and that the fact that the coup wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the Nazis. Watch this. So he says Maidan was the victory of the nationalist ideas. That was the coup that took place. That was the coup that took place. And he said that was the victory for the nationalist ideas. Well, what does nationalist mean? It means Nazi ideas, right? Okay. Nationalists were the key factor there, and clearly at the front lines. Now, there is a lot of speculation saying, well, there were only a few neo-Nazis. LGBT and foreign embassies are saying there were not much neo-Nazis on Maidan. Maybe about 10% of the real ideological ones. The thing is that such a thing can say only a moron that never was at war. And don't understand that those 10%, maybe even less, 8%. But how much they are and how much more effective in the proportion of influence. So he's saying, yeah, we might have only been 10% or 8%, but what was our effect? That's what he's saying. What was the proportion of our influence? How much of their effectiveness was? It was endless, he says. He says, if not for those 8% of neo-Nazis, the effectiveness of Maidan would have dropped by 90%. So he's saying most of the credit has to go to these right-wing nationalist neo-Nazis for the coup. So it's the numbers. It's not the point. Also, when they started firing on the crowds, people thought that was the government doing that. Turns out now there's lots of credible evidence that the Nazis were doing it. Like now, some left-wingers like Boll Foundation and so on, they're trying to count numbers to diminish. So the reason why they're doing that is that now the West doesn't want to recognize the Nazis in Ukraine because it's bad for them. It's a bad look. And this guy's saying something like, there were that many nationalists, they had that much influence. If not for the nationalists, that whole thing, meaning the coup, would have turned into a gay parade. That's what he said. So, okay. So now there's more. Max, you want to comment on any of that?
Well, let's keep it rolling.
Okay, so here's more.
Але стільки зброї не
He says, we were now been given so much weaponry, not because some say the West is helping us. So they've been given all this weaponry from the West. And some say it's because they want to help you. And he says, no, that's not why.
тому, що ми хороші, як нам кажуть, нам допомагає Захід, бо вони хочуть нам блага, тому що ми виконуємо
He says,
задачі
not because the West wants the best for us, but because we perform the tasks set by the
Заходу.
West.
Тому що ми єдині, хто готові
Because we are the only ones who are ready to do them.
виконувати, бо нам весело, нам прикольно.
Because we have fun. We have fun killing and we have fun fighting.
Вбивати і прикольно воювати. І вони думають, вау, давайте вже, подивимося,
And they're like, wow, let's see what's going to
що це
happen.
буде. Тому виник цей новий альянс, про який зараз говорять там
And that is the reason for the new alliance, Turkey, Poland, Britain, and Ukraine. So he's saying, we're starting this whole new thing. There's going to be a whole new power alliance, and it doesn't rely on NATO.
Туреччина, Польща, Британія, Україна. Тут ми тут флагман. Тому що ми
We are the flagman here because we have started a war. He's taking credit for starting this war with Russia. We have started a war that has not been seen for 60 years.
хотіли війну, якої не було вже останніх 60 років. Так от, уявіть,
So imagine how many weapons we have, how many veterans that we have.
скільки в нас ветеранів. А тепер уявіть,
And imagine
зникає
Russia
Росія,
falls
вона
apart.
розвалюється. Тобто
And
виникає
it turns into
5
5
Росій,
different
Ні,
Russians or something
на
like that.
європейському континенті.
We have the most javelins on the European continent. Maybe only the UK has more javelin missiles than they do.
Тільки в Британії там, здається, більше. Ви розумієте, цей потенціал,
The potential of those armed forces will immediately become a problem for all
цих
those who
збройних сил,
oppose
це
us.
стане проблемою зразу для всіх, хто зараз там десь там намагається робити хеньку.
For all those who are trying to give us problems.
І оце от є наша
It is our joy and our
це наша
sorrow.
печаль. Чому, щоб ви розуміли,
You
чому
need
так
to
все важко?
understand
Не тому,
why.
що
Yes, it is hard, not because we are Ukrainians and our asses suffered for 300 years.
300 років, наша дупа страждала. Чому ж нарешті влада до нас?
Why finally everything good, not just given to us? We are such good people. So he's mocking people as being crybabies saying that. And so, but the real reason he says,
Ми хочемо в Європу. Ні.
and he said, oh, those people, we want to join Europe. He doesn't want. This is what he
Величезна,
says.
потужна держава.
No, we are a huge, powerful state. And if we come to power, it will be both joy and problems for the whole world.
І якщо ми тут
So you see who the United States government and the European Union and NATO are supporting. Now, go to Google. So he said they had the most, I forget what kind of missile that was, or anti-tank missile that was. But go to Google. Well, you can stay right there on YouTube and put in countries sending weapons to Ukraine for the war. You're going to see that all of these countries are complicit. But at the top is that great eagle. The eagle that's over top of all of the other eagles. They the main ones. Yeah, play that first one. Oh, that's Fox News. Any of the local news stations, they're going to be all for it.
Welcome back to Special Report. Let's take a look at where things stand in Ukraine tonight. This is a map of Russian.
Oh, man.
Welcome back to Special Report. Let's take a look at
Pause
where
it.
things stand in.
Want y'all to see something. So the red areas that you see is where the incursion is of Soviet forces. See those two blue areas? It's Donbass, and the other one starts with an L. I can't remember the name of it right now. Those are the areas of ethnic Russians that the rest of Ukraine has been shelling and killing for the last 8 years. The ones that they're completely ignoring and not mentioning when they talk about why Russia has gone in doing this incursion. Go ahead, play it.
in Ukraine tonight. This is a map of Russian-occupied territories, controlled areas as of yesterday into today. The key point here is that it is around the cities, not in the cities. And you can see this. There's a city down here, Mariupol. Basically, all of these cities are surrounded in one way or another by Russian forces. Kharkiv is getting bombarded by shelling, by missiles, not guided missiles. It has changed. According to Pentagon officials and U.S. intelligence, it has gone into this siege mode for the Russians, and unfortunately looks a little bit like Grozny. Some bombing in Kyiv as well as shelling in Mariupol. A number of engagements on the ground, but it is not complete control of these big cities, which is a testament to the Ukrainian defense forces. We've been talking a lot about this Russian convoy.
Pause it, man. I just can't believe these people. Back it up to the map itself. We're gonna have to, because he said that, I'm gonna have to send you another video. So what they're doing is flanking the defenses. They're moving around them to enclose them. And then they're going to give them a chance to surrender. They don't have a chance. They have no chance. Well, go ahead. I want to see what these weapons are.
It is not complete control of these big cities, which is a testament to the Ukrainian defense forces. We've been talking a lot about this Russian convoy, 40 miles long. It is stalled, according to U.S. intelligence. If you take a look at here, this is Kyiv proper, where downtown is right about there. This is that convoy going all the way up, past Kyiv, all the way up. Now, they have supply issues. They're essentially stalled. It's a long convoy of armored vehicles and tanks. They are getting supplies, we're told, and there is a kind of a resupply effort, and they're reorganizing, but right now it's essentially on hold.
What are they basing
and that is a
that
good
on?
thing for the Ukrainians. Each day that happens is a good day. In the same moment, and here's Kyiv right here, you are having about 660 to 680,000 refugees getting out of Ukraine towards Poland, and that is clogging that route. And at the same time, you're getting some coming into the country to fight alongside the Ukrainian forces. That is a new phenomena, and they're doing so with weapons from countries around the globe. These are all the countries sending weapons to Ukraine in one way or another. The U.S. among them. The biggest weapon of choice is the Javelin anti-armor, anti-tank missile that's being used so effectively by Ukrainian defense forces. But the question is, can they get it fast enough? Can they hold the Russians off before they get into the city of Kyiv and take out that government and President Zelensky?
Suppose,
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Let's back it up just a tad bit so we can see those names. So Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Estonia, Netherlands, Latvia, UK, Lithuania, Poland. See, they're all following that great eagle. They're all following that one right there that's on the other side of the water. Because you look at the other ones, they're right next to Russia. They know they can't stand up against Russia. They know they can't. But all of them are complicit. They're sending weapons so that those neo-Nazis that are actually running the government, they're going to get them. And the way things look, I'm just going to be honest, the way things look, what's going to end up happening, because these neo-Nazis, you saw what they did to cause the coup. What do you think they're going to do when they realize they can't win? They're going to start committing atrocities against their own people and try to make it look like the Russians are doing it. The Russians, they're not in a hurry. They talking about how the convoy stopped. They're having problems. Based on what? You don't know what their strategy is. They think they're in a hurry. They know exactly what they're doing. They've been looking at this situation for the last 8, 9, 10 years. You don't think they know? They know everything there is to know. All right, now back out of there. Now let's go to I want to go to some stuff now to prove that they know they will go to any type of means to get what they want. I'm going to send you a video of Soleimani. So, was it a year ago or 2 years ago when it had to be 2 years, they assassinated Qasem Soleimani. He was the the Iranian general that they killed. They set him up and murdered him, assassinated him. So here's an interview with Soleimani's daughter. Let me find. It's so many. We got a lot of videos, y'all. I'm gonna pick the best ones or the most useful ones. There it is. So we're trying to show you, we're not taking sides either, because all of them are part of that eagle. They're all evil and hateful birds. But the worst of them are the ones that's ruling the earth. That's for sure. The ones that's pushing the wickedness, forcing it upon other people, and then at the same time trying to show you that they're not evil. Everybody else is except them. All right, I just sent it. So this is a video of Soleimani's daughter. Pay attention to what she said. Because some of the stuff that we're going to see tonight, they're not going to tell you in mainstream media. Period. Not period. Journalists know. Yeah, go ahead, watch what she said.
And across NATO countries, we saw the news reported as a victory, the news of your father's death. I know that months before, he was considered a hero in the fight against Al-Qaeda and ISIS-Daesh, even in NATO nation media. How did he go from being this hero to suddenly being a terrorist? Even Lloyd Austin, the new Joe Biden Pentagon pick, said he was great in combating ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Suddenly he went from hero to terrorist. Why?
Well, all of us know this, that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they are a group of terrorists that America made them. And we have many proofs for that. And my father was the only person who was standing in front of such a terrorist groups. Of course, they are not happy for that my father is standing in front of such a groups. Because they made it. They made it to start a war in the Middle East. And they used
Hold on. See that? That's the common theme. They're using people to start wars. So when they start these wars, it causes turmoil in these places. And then they can sneak in their little puppet. And then they can get all that company's resources. Like when you see the root of all evil is the love of money, it ain't no joke. But not only do they want, it's not just money with them. They want every damn thing, like in Obadiah. If grape gatherers come to thee, they want everything.
They trying to play the position of God.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Damn, let her go. You're going to pause it again, though.
To start hurting people. And taking their houses, their jobs, their money, their countries. Of course, they are not happy. For my father is standing in front of them and destroying them everywhere. And you know this, and I know also, recording that Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, he exposed the email that Jack Sullivan was telling Hillary Clinton that Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Okay,
See that? Why don't we know about this? This was in WikiLeaks. Hillary Clinton is saying that Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. You'll hear whispers that, oh yeah, America's the one that got them in there. You know, I remember me and Elder having a conversation one time. Why are they destroying artifacts that would prove that we're the children of Israel over there in Syria? Why are they blowing up ancient churches? And that brings up another question. So all these artifacts, right? There was thousands of artifacts stolen from over there. How did they end up in the United States? Let that play for a second. I'm going to pull that video up too. That they got the stolen artifacts. They had to return them. Go ahead, let it play.
This man is still in the prison. Why? Because he exposed them. And he said for everyone that such a group terrorists that are killing people, innocent people in the Middle East, America made them. And they are like toys for them. The life of people, innocent people, are like toys for them. They attacked everyone, everywhere. And of course, they are not happy that my father is standing in front of them, and every plan they are making in Middle East, my father destroyed it. And he changed this game. He was the winner of this game, and he destroyed them. Of course, they are not happy, and they kill him so easy in another place, in an international airport. He was the guest of Iraqi people. They invite him to help them. How they dare to kill an official general of a country? They kill it easy, and they said, we kill it and we proud. Why they are proud? Because they kill someone like General Soleimani, that he was destroying all their plans, all the money they were putting on the Middle East. My father destroyed their plans. Of course, they will be happy if they kill him, and they will proud. And, you know, of course, they will say he was a terrorist because in their mind, my father, because he was destroying the people they created, he's a terrorist. Because he was saving innocent people's lives, he is a terrorist. Who is a terrorist here? They made these groups. They attacked people. They kill people easily, everywhere.
Word.
They are the terrorists.
All right, you can drop that. Come back to us. Al, give me Habakkuk 2. It's like they start their understanding. It's just a matter of time, y'all. Like scripture said, he has to be revealed in his time. Chapter 2. Start at 4.
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him.
That's right. The eagle, their soul is not upright in them. They're evil birds. Go ahead.
But the just shall live by his faith.
Talking about us. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man.
So you know that wine is going into his lies, philosophies, all that stuff that you have to follow. And if you don't follow, he gonna cut you off from the rest of the world. Go ahead.
Says, yeah. Also, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home.
Neither keepeth at home.
Always got his feet somewhere else.
Right. The eagle, he up in the skies looking down, seeing what he can take over. He don't keep at home. He's gonna leave that nest sitting there. And he gonna go out and he gonna gather in all the daggone carcasses he can. That's a better word, carcass. Go ahead.
He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell.
You can't, his desire ain't never gonna end. They go from one country to another, one conflict to another. Since when was the last time the United States was not involved in some type of conflict? Right. In my lifetime, I can't think of anything.
I think they said it was something I was looking up that America has only had peace for like I want to say less than 20 years, less 20, 30 years, something like somewhere up in there in its time of existence.
Damn, in its existence.
Yeah, they always at war.
They always in the midst of something. Go ahead.
Just the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 5. It said, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied.
Ain't nothing gonna satisfy him. Nothing. Go ahead.
But gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
Now, who is that? Even when you look at what they do, they go into other nations and they disrupt what the people are doing over there. Now, let's take Saddam Hussein, for example. He was running his country. He know his people. Those people, if you don't keep your thumb on them, they will go right into chaos with that Islam and start killing each other just like they're doing now. He did what was best for his people. He was set over top of his people. Now, they kept talking about how much of a dictator and all that he was. And soon as he got ousted, here come all the bombings. Here come all the attacks in the mosques. Here come the indiscriminate killing of their own people. And you had the wicked white man over there killing people. We're going to touch on that too. But they go throughout the earth disrupting everything, and then they take those people's resources, everything you got, just like they do in Africa. There's constantly stuff going on in Africa. They can't never build and take advantage of the resources they got on their own land. The eagles over there picking it all up. Go ahead.
The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his.
Which is not his. Go ahead.
How long? And to him that leadeth himself with thick clay.
So that thick clay, you go back to Daniel, that's the nations trying to come together. He heaving that clay to himself, which is the multitudes of people up underneath him, but it ain't going to work. How long? Verse 7.
Verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly? This the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 7. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them.
Meaning spoils of war. That's all you're going to be. Last verse, verse 8.
Verse 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations.
Damn.
All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood.
Who do you think this prophecy fits? If it don't fit them eagles. I know some Edomites that have said, my people have done a lot of evil things.
Right.
Yes, they have. And the thing is, they know their history. We don't know their history. We don't even know ours. Finish that verse out.
Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city and all that dwell therein.
All right, so I'm going to send you another video with Jimmy Dior. It's going to reiterate some things that we already been talking about. We're going to have to hit these cities too shortly. All right, there you go.
We want to just bring you up to date and kind of tell you what's going on with the Ukraine situation. And before we get into the part I want to show you today that's new, I just always want to remind people there's a lot of reasons why this is happening in Ukraine, and it's not an act of naked aggression. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is naked. I don't know what even that means. Naked. Or they're wearing clothes when they're doing this. So Nord Stream pipeline snarled in the U.S.-Russia fossil energy war. So there's a big pipeline that goes from Russia to Germany that was supposed to start up, get the liquid gas flowing, and they're providing a lot. So that's got more to do with this than anybody's letting on. So the United States doesn't want that pipeline happening. And so one of the conditions to get that pipeline to shut down was if Russia attacked Ukraine, Germany agreed that they would shut it down. So it looks like the Biden administration has done everything they could to get Putin to actually go into Ukraine. And what's another? So that's one reason. We're going to talk more about it later. Another reason is the NATO expansion, and people try to dismiss it, but it's real. And so this is from Salon. NATO leaves little room for diplomacy, how the war machine upped the ante in Ukraine. So, and why did the war machine want Ukraine to be a part of NATO? Because when you join NATO, you have to have a certain amount of military gear for your country. And so who sells it? The West. So that's why they wanted to get as many countries into NATO as they could after the Soviet Union fell, not because it would defend us from the Soviet Union, but because it would be a weapons sales for American military industrial complex. Also, in 2014, here's the third thing that led to this crisis. In 2014, the United States backed a coup of the democratically elected government in Ukraine because they were afraid that the Ukraine was too close with Russia, and they wanted Ukraine to come join the Europe and their economic system. And so we helped engineer a coup to overthrow that democratically elected government, and we got in bed with neo-Nazis to do it. So a big part of the support for the current Ukraine government is neo-Nazis, and that's not, I'll show you that for real. It's not a little thing, it's not small, it's a big deal. And so we tried to turn Ukraine into a vassal state, as you pointed out here, for the U.S. project of turning Ukraine into a vassal state while pretending to care about its sovereignty. You couldn't have picked a worse face than the guy who helped organize the coup of 2014 and then got his son a lucrative gas company board seat in the immediate aftermath. So that's what we're talking. So this is the stuff they're never telling you. Even on YouTube, they don't ever hardly bring this stuff up when they cover the Ukraine crisis. So that's really important. So this is where the crisis is. So there's the Ukraine, and there's the two separatist areas, Donetsk and Luhansk, and this is called the Donbass. And what's been going on since 2014, they wanted to separate from the Ukraine after the coup. They're like, we don't want to be ruled by people who overthrew our government. And so they started fighting. So the Ukraine forces are fighting the separatist forces in Donbass, and they were supposed to stop shelling them and killing them. Who was supposed to? The Ukraine. There was a ceasefire. It was called the Minsk agreements and part of the agreement was there would be a ceasefire. Ukraine would stop shelling that area and killing those people. They would have a military withdrawal, and then they would have elections in this area. They would have elections here, and these people would be giving more autonomy. None of that happened. None of that happened. So they're not abiding. So this didn't just come out of nowhere. There's a pipeline involved. There's the expansion of NATO involved. And there's the Minsk agreements and Ukraine shelling and killing these people. And nobody ever brings this up. So finally, after 8 years of them trying to negotiate, they wouldn't stop shelling them. So then Vladimir Putin stepped in under all of that happening. Okay, under all of that happening. And just to remind everybody, 1 in 6 Ukrainians is an actual ethnic Russian, and 1 in 3 speaks Russian as their native language. Okay. And so that leads me to anything you would like to, I'm here with Aaron Mate. Aaron, is there anything you'd like to add to that before I get to this video today?
Great summary. I'll just add that the obvious then solution for Ukraine's deep internal division throughout all of this has been apparent from the start. Instead of forcing Ukraine to choose one identity, because it has 2 very distinct identities. One of it is pro-Western, pro-US, wants to be tight with the EU. The other one is pro-Russian, to the point where, as you say, there's so many people who speak Russian. So the obvious answer when you have such a divided country is to keep it neutral. Don't force it to choose one side or the other, because that will lead to conflict. And for the last 8 years, starting with the coup in 2014, the U.S. has been leading the way to try to force Ukraine into one position. And that's a disaster because Russia is on its borders. And along with this bid to expand NATO into Ukraine, it was not going to let Ukraine become a U.S. military outpost on its borders and negating the attitudes and desires of the millions of people inside Ukraine who strongly identify with Russia. That's why the solution has always been to keep Ukraine neutral, but that has not been tolerable to Washington, D.C. And that's why we have this conflict right now.
So, and that's the part you'll never hear almost anywhere else when you go to hear information about Ukraine. And so now here's a journalist, and he's going to be speaking to a spokesperson for Russia, right? And so here, watch what his question is starts from today, as if history in the Donbass and Ukraine and Russia just started 2 days ago. And she reminds him that Ukraine has been shelling and killing these people without mercy, and they won't stop, and they're actual Nazis. Okay, here we go.
Launched an unprovoked attack on his southern neighbor that is killing a lot of Ukrainian.
So he calls it an unprovoked attack. So I just told you all that stuff. So for him to say that is propaganda off the top. Okay.
Cousins of Russia and Russian soldiers. What's your reaction to that description of his action?
And could you please say how many years must have this bloodshed gone on in eastern Ukraine? 5, 10 years? Why did you start counting victims only today or say yesterday? Who gave you the right to ignore victims, especially we were talking about thousands of them over all these years? Isn't your conscience tormenting you when you Western journalists speculating on Minsk agreements and Russia never mentioned that in the Eastern Ukraine, in Donetsk and Luhansk Republic, there are peaceful citizens losing lives every day. You never counted them. Just like President Zelensky never considered them people. Who gave you the right to speak of the victims starting only today? If that's the way you create your reports, if that's your approach to it, you are not journalists and you're not people. All in all, according to OSCE, 13,000 people died, and OSCE had no opportunity to account for every victim. It's only their primary analysis. Where were you? Why didn't you ask these questions in Kiev? Why didn't you broadcast people in Donbass? Why did you give them no opportunity to attend international organizations meetings or join in online? You have no conscience at all. You shouldn't start counting with February 2022. This history is many years old. At least you should start with 2013. Did you count the people that died on Maidan in 2013, 2014? How many people died? How many people were killed by snipers? Have you ever reported on that? It's not for you to say that there's an operation conducted. It's not a beginning of a war. It's an operation to end a war which has been going on for many years. What you do is propaganda.
So what she's pointing out to that guy, why are you only starting to count deaths right now in February 2022? This didn't just start then. This is back in 2013. Why don't you count the number of deaths that happened when they overthrew the government in the Maidan coup? Why don't you count those deaths? Why don't you count the deaths that they've been shelling for the last 8 years? You don't count any of those deaths. Now, I can't show you. There's another video that accompanies this that shows you all the carnage that the Ukraine neo-Nazis have been inflicting on the areas of Donbass. I can't show you that on YouTube because it'll demonetize this video, if not completely shut it down, to pull it down. So,
yeah. So he keeps talking about the neo-Nazis. So like those are the guys that are in control. They're killing the people in the western parts of Ukraine. I just sent you a map. Pull that map up. And Al, you want to go to a scripture? Go ahead.
Yeah, this the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It said, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices," man. And that's, man, what the scripture said, man. Satan came down to deceive the whole world. And we over here in America, our people our people so brainwashed that you can't tell them that Putin is, Putin may not be in the wrong. Once you point the finger at your own country, see what's going on behind the scenes. So that's why, man, we can't let Satan continue to deceive us, man, because that's been going on all the way back from the garden.
Right. I recently had a sister. She kept asking me about the mark of the beast. And I was like, well, sister, in order for you to understand the mark of the beast, first you have to understand who the beast is.
Right.
That's first and foremost.
Right.
And then you got to understand you're supposed to be putting your trust in your God. But instead, we putting our trust in that damn eagle. That is the mark. You putting all your trust in it. You believe in everything they say. Anything come down the pike that they say, you think is true. I almost got in an argument with a sister at the grocery store just trying to enlighten her on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, man. She immediately, they did the same thing to Hitler. As soon as you bring his name up, you got to go through a whole bunch of bull just before you can even say anything. That man did a lot of stuff, but soon as it's such a negative connotation when you say his name, the first thing they're going to say is Holocaust. Just like we looked at World War II, the first thing popped up, Holocaust. That don't make no damn sense. All millions of people that died, and there's no record of no 6 million people dying over there.
Well, our slave masters was nothing but a bunch of Hitlers.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, who's to say how many of those big-beaked eagles that they killed over there? So pull up that map. Hold on. Let me do it again. Maybe I deleted it. There you go. Should have it now. Oh, that's the video? Hold on. My bad, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't be deceived by Satan's devices, Israel.
Right.
Man, stay aware. You so-called blacks and Hispanics, man. We pray you brothers and sisters is repenting and paying attention to what's going on, and don't be deceived by Satan's devices.
You know, a lot of people say that they're spiritual, or they got African spirituality or whatever.
Niggas carnal.
Right. They're completely carnal. When you look at this man, the things that they do spiritually, you understand who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so click on that joint. Enlarge that joint on the right. I'm going to try to explain this too, because it's when you dealing with these eagles, there's always a ton of propaganda. There's propaganda on both sides, but the greatest propaganda is coming from that eagle that sits over many waters. Mm-hmm. So the white area is Russia. The gray area, or light gray, is Ukraine. Now you have the dark gray, which is Donetsk, and then you have Luhansk. So after that coup, like Jimmy was saying, they were like, hell no, we're not going along with this. We don't want to be ruled by these people. So they separated themselves. And on top of it, they're ethnic Russians. All of these people are Slavic, all of them. But then they got the section Russian-backed separatist area. Why does it have to say Russian-backed? They don't want to be part of the people of Ukraine. They always got to throw some propaganda in there. So they separated themselves. And because of that, those neo-Nazis, being led by those neo-Nazis, the army of Ukraine has been shelling and killing them for 8 years. Now, the Russian authorities have tried diplomatic avenues to resolve it for all of these 8 years. Even though it was in, they call, I forget what they call it, the Minsk agreement. they were supposed to stop doing it, and they never did after all these years. So they're killing those people, and when Hitler goes in there and does something finally, oh, it's his fault. He's an aggressor, and he did it for no reason. You know what? That takes me to the next video. I can't, looking at this stuff, you can't make it up. Like, our minds are not, we don't think the way they do. They got Satan on them, 100%. Yeah, Satan in them. His spirit dwelling in them.
Right. You got to be a devil to come up with weapons of mass destruction that could blow up a whole everything. Who sits and comes up with this type of technology? These people got to be dealing with Satan.
Right. You know that technology was not created to blow stuff up.
Right.
Just like everything else that's created, they took it.
Right.
Like we got another purpose.
Turn to evil. That's why the scripture tell you in Proverbs. Hold on, let me get that, Jane, while y'all pulling that.
Yeah.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2. It said, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. That's why the earth, the people, and everything that's going on right now, it's in a state of mourning right now.
Yes, completely.
Because the righteous people, which are you so-called blacks and Hispanics, whose fathers of the Negro or the Indian descent, you're not in your rightful rulership in your rightful place. And these is the reason why the world is being ran like it is, because you have a wicked people that God gave the earth to that's ruling.
Right, watch this. Let's go. He getting the video ready. Let's go to Luke 21. And verse 25. So when you read this, you're going to understand it. I'm going to have to explain it a little bit.
This the book of Luke, chapter 21, and verse 25. It said, and there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars upon the earth.
So, hold on. So that sun, moon, and stars is talking about the knowledge and wisdom that's been given to us in these scriptures. There's going to be signs. So signs are in here. We have prophecies. Go ahead.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations.
Upon the earth, distress of nations. Go ahead.
With perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
So the sea is the multitudes of people.
Right.
They're roaring. They're going through chaos.
Right.
They doing uprises against their governments.
Why the heathen rage?
Right. That's them. All right, now let's go to the video. Because we're going to watch a clip from a documentary that was recorded in 2018. It came out in 2019. And watch what it said on here. We're seeing it today, what's being said on this. Go ahead.
It's a way to antagonize Russia. They've stirred up aggression against Russia right at Russia's border and then blamed Russia for anything that happened.
But it's always interesting. Do puppeteers understand that sometimes puppets begin to live their own lives? The fact of Ukraine's interference in the elections in the United States is the first wake-up call. And then, war between Ukraine and Russia. Yesterday it was unthinkable. Today it is a probable scenario. It doesn't matter who starts first. It is important to note that the shockwave from the first explosion has spread too wide and affects those who prefer to wait out on the side. Does the Pied Piper who leads those who believe him further and further to nowhere understand that Russia will never accept a hostile state near its borders?
Sounds like you've had a tough few years, sir. A hard time.
The following years will be difficult, and I would say that especially 2019 will not be easy for Ukraine.
Are you afraid of something?
Yes. The world blowing up.
One day that gunshot could be heard. For example, Ukrainian military boats could again try to break the borders that Russia considers its own, and thereby provoke response fire from the Russian border guards.
It's the Russian military going head-to-head against the Ukrainian military.
There will be victims.
Russian President Vladimir Putin blamed the Ukrainian government for the crisis.
And then the war begins, in which Russia will naturally be declared the aggressor.
Fighting has intensified.
Russia set off an international crisis.
In Ukraine, Russia's now at war there.
Ukrainian tanks will move to the Donbass in order to destroy the unrecognized republics with one blow.
Will President Trump finally confront Putin's act of aggression against Ukraine?
And in order to save citizens, Russian troops will come forward to meet them. The Hungarian army will defend the Hungarian citizens living in the west of Ukraine.
The mayor has declared a humanitarian crisis and has appealed to the United Nations for help.
Poland will announce the mobilization of reservists. There will be a real chance to return the lands that were torn off by the Soviet Union in 1939.
UN Security Council will hold an emergency session on the Ukraine crisis.
And what the whole world feared during the Cold War will happen. Moscow's, Brussels, and Washington's bad dream will come true.
We want to return now to some breaking news this morning. We're just learning about the movement of the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz and 4 other ships.
No one wants a full-scale war. For those who are still in control in Kiev, the only way to avoid defeat and destruction is to organize a provocation. The armies of Russia and NATO will come into military conflict. This will be the beginning of a withering Armageddon. Only scorched earth will remain in place of Ukraine. The world will be engulfed in a giant flame. Probably the last war for humanity. Just because someone in Kiev really wants to remain in power.
Look, y'all.
All praises to the Most High in Christ.
If these people can see it coming, what the hell is wrong with us? Why can't we see it? It was a couple of Eagles talking about this video right here and how that they have tried to suppress it. And this is, 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old, that documentary. But Oliver Stone is the guy. He could see it coming. Well, I mean, usually people see stuff coming and they can deter. You can get out the way, avoid something. But not when you're dealing with the psychology of this eagle. He gonna do what he want to do, and ain't nobody gonna stop him. And you know what? In all actuality, he just fulfilling the word of the Lord. You want to pull something?
Yeah. 2 Peter chapter 3.
Yeah.
2 Peter chapter 3, just to go on with this video. It's the book of 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up." So the scriptures, man, this what's coming to the earth, this already prophesied to come.
Yeah.
So this war is already written. That's why the ignorant ones of our people keep talking about, oh, that's a fairy tale book, okay? The prophecy's gonna keep coming to pass. This war right here written. The only way you escape it is to return back to the keeping of the commandments in Christ.
100%. 100%. So I'm gonna go to Revelation 17. And I'm gonna skip around a little bit. I'm gonna start at verse 12. So this is talk about, you have the one that's ruling over all the other ones. He's ruling over the other feathers, telling them what to do. Verse 12.
This the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 12. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are the 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast."
1 hour with the beast. It seemed like a long time to us, but it's actually short. Go ahead.
"These have one mind."
These have one mind.
Right.
They got the mind of the eagle that we living under. They following him right now. Right now they are. Go ahead.
These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
They're giving their power and strength unto the beast. Go ahead.
These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called chosen and faithful.
Right. Now, keep going. 15.
Verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Which goes back to what we read in Luke about the sea and the waves, similitudes. So he's sitting over top of all of the waters, ruling all the waters. Go ahead.
Heap unto himself all people.
Yep.
Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire.
They're going to expose her. At some point, they're going to realize, wait a minute, why are you hyping us up to keep causing conflict with our brothers over there in Russia? You on a completely different continent. We right here next door.
Right.
If they decide to let loose, because they got a gent called the Satan 2.
Satan 2.
Intercontinental hypersonic missile, you can't even stop. They were saying, I heard earlier, they don't even need to put a warhead on it. That thing goes so fast when it hit the ground, it's going to destroy everything around it.
That's like the one that I had mentioned that I showed in my class a couple years ago. They came out with the one that said it travels 20 times the speed of sound.
Yeah. So that the hypersonic, which is 20 G's. Gosh. Something like it's up around 20 something thousand miles per hour. When it hits, what's gonna happen? Whew. Go ahead.
Verse 17. For God hath put in their hearts.
That's the point. God have put it in their hearts.
Right.
Go ahead.
For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will.
His will. So it don't, because somebody might be like, well, maybe I can save the Eagles. Nah.
God put it in their heart.
Right. It's in that. Just like Pharaoh. Even though Pharaoh was like, y'all go ahead and leave, take them, get the hell out of here. Then all of a sudden, no, let's go get him. Let's go put him to death. Who can resist his will? That's why Paul said that. For God have put in their hearts to fulfill his will. Ready? We can go to that after.
For God hath put in their heart to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled.
Right. His words are going to be fulfilled, no matter what nobody do. We got to get in line. We can't fight against that. This ain't in the scriptures, but this is a popular saying. My arms is too short to box with God. All right, verse 18.
Verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
That's what they do. They reign over the kings of the earth. Ain't no denying who this eagle is. That head eagle. Now let's I want to look at, so some of the other nations are starting to realize, no. I had said yesterday that President Zelensky, you could tell that the U.S. and the Union had hyped his head up and he was popping off at the mouth. So let's deal with that real quick. Because he changed his tune. Yeah, here we go. This is on February the 22nd. All praises to the Most High. We can just pull stuff up so fast now. I don't know how long, because if this thing continues, ain't gonna be no RT in certain other stations. Right now, we're getting everything from RT and Teleshore. We're gonna hit Teleshore shortly. All right, just send it. Play that.
We're going for is a way to
No. I just sent it. It's showing on mine. Oh, it just came through. Okay.
Зараз немає жодних причин Зараз немає жодних причин для хаотичних дій. Зробимо все, щоб так і було надалі. Ми віддані мирному і дипломатичному шляху. І будемо йти ним і тільки ним. Ми на своїй землі. Ми нічого і нікого не боїмось. Ми нічого.
Hold on, pause it, man. Pause it. All that stuff we just looked at for 8 years, they've been killing those people. Then they got the nerve to say that they've been ready to sit down and will sit down and have a discussion. He's lying, man.
That's the deception of these devils, man. That's why be not deceived, Israel. These people are the biggest deceivers on the planet Earth. All of them. It don't matter what country they from. They all the same, man.
Yep. They're all just different feathers of the same bird.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, keep playing.
Part of the same beast.
Тому не винні. І ми нічого і нікому не віддамо. І ми в цьому впевнені. Бо зараз не лютий 2014 року, а лютий 2022. Інша країна, інша армія, одна мета – це мир. Мир в Україні. Слава Україні! Ми віддані політико-дипломатичному врегулюванню і не піддаємось на будь-які провокації. Наші кордони надійно захищені, створено систему територіальної оборони. Наші партнери нас підтримують. Відповідно до статті 51 Статуту ООН, Україна залишає за собою право на індивідуальну і колективну самооборону. Ми добре розрізняємо провокації та наступ військ-агресора. За нами правда. І правду ми ніколи не будемо приховувати від вас.
Oh my goodness. Did you see the hypocrisy in that speech? You know, that we're not going to go to it, but yeah, we're going to go to the next video, but I'm just saying the scripture that came to my mind. His words were smooth as butter, but war was in his heart. He giving this speech, but meanwhile, they killing people. Oh my goodness. So now watch how he was confident right there. But now his tone gonna change.
remember and Maccabees were alchemists. What?
Oh yeah. Running his mouth. Go ahead.
I'm Nancy Cordes in New York. Adriana Diaz is off. Tonight, there are troubling new signs that Russia is on the verge of invading its neighbor Ukraine, putting all of Europe on edge. Russian President Vladimir Putin was seen observing a series of nuclear drills today and a mock battle. It happened just north of the Ukrainian border, and it involved warplanes, tanks, and rocket launchers. U.S. officials say up to 190,000 Russian troops are now amassed along the Ukrainian border, with new deployments in Crimea, Belarus, and near eastern Ukraine. On the front lines, there was an uptick in shelling today. Ukraine's military said 2 soldiers were killed. Russian separatist leaders in eastern Ukraine ordered the evacuation of women and children, and thousands have already fled. At a security conference in Munich, Germany today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky begged the West to impose stiff sanctions now. Zelensky met with Vice President Kamala Harris, who called this a decisive moment in history, one day after President Biden said he is now convinced Putin does intend to attack. CBS's Christina Ruffini was there for all of it. She is in Munich and joins us now. Christina, good evening.
Good evening, Nancy. Well, it's crunch time, and everyone here this weekend knows it. One last shot at diplomacy, if diplomacy even still has a shot.
We're not really living in delusion. We understand what can happen tomorrow.
Taking center stage at the Munich Security Conference, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told a ballroom packed with diplomats and government officials that his country cannot afford to panic.
Putting ourselves in coffins and waiting for foreign soldiers to come in is not something we are prepared to do.
Zelensky's visit to Munich was short, with many Western allies privately advising him not to risk leaving Ukraine.
Welcome. I am looking forward to our conversation.
But Zelensky said he wanted to make his case himself, in person, pressing the U.S. and European allies to sanction Russia now before it's too late.
And we are being told that you have several days and then the war will start. And I said, okay, then apply the sanctions today.
We have prepared together economic measures that will be swift, severe, and united.
Speaking earlier in the day, Vice President Harris said the U.S. and its allies are prepared to impose significant and unprecedented sanctions if Russia further invades Ukraine.
National borders should not be changed by force.
And Christina is back with us now. Christina, is there
Hold
any
on,
sign
back that
the
up,
US
back that up. Who said that? Are you kidding me? They do it all the time.
One thing about this place, this whore don't like when other nations do what they've been doing since the beginning. They don't like that, and they push their rhetoric through this media, through their sorceries, their witchcraft. They push whatever propaganda because they're in control of the world's media. They in control of this stuff. They push whatever narrative they want to push, and they make you the people. You now the whole world now. Putla is Hitler #2 now to the world now. But the whole time, America pushing the rhetoric and they not giving the whole full truth, man.
Man, go to Google. She just reminded me of something, making that statement.
They say, what's that saying? It ain't so fun when the rabbit got the gun. Ain't no fun for America now. Everybody got guns.
This is what I want to find out. Here we go. So just a couple of years ago, before before COVID, you had Juan Guaido. See if you can pull him up. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Damn, how you spell Juan? Juan? Guar. It's Guaido. Oh, Guaido. Juanguaido. Do y'all remember this?
Right there.
Yeah. Click on him. Let's see what we can find. So it says, a Venezuelan politician, former member of Social Democratic Popular Will Party and federal deputy to National Assembly representing the state of Vargas. So what happened a few years ago, the United States tried to cause a coup in Venezuela and make him the acting leader. See, it says Juan Guaido, today's latest from Al Jazeera. You on the left? Yeah, you right there. Go down a little bit. Right there, yeah.
Hey, that's crazy. Somebody said that in the shop last night when I was at work. When Nehemiah said, nobody's talking about COVID no more.
Right, right.
COVID and disappeared off the map. Ain't nobody talking about COVID no more. All you hear is about this.
They tried to cause a coup in Venezuela, and they did not recognize, what's that? Scroll back up. Maduro. The United States said they did not recognize Maduro as the president of that country. It was Juan Guaido, whatever his name is. They put him in power. They tried to force him into power. Are you kidding me? And then for them to say that you don't get to decide things when y'all the ones that's pushing everything on the face of this earth.
Right, dictating everything.
Oh, man.
Hypocritical.
Scroll up a little bit. Oh, no, go down a little bit. Go down. How did Venezuela end up with two presidents? Yeah, that was what it was about. Yeah, click on that. Because the U.S. was the ones doing that. Oh, play that, please.
Venezuela and why it has two competing presidents. Juan Guaido is the one recognized by dozens of countries.
Look, y'all, I don't care how nice someone talks, they're still the damn devil. Don't believe everything they say.
That's right.
But Nicolas Maduro is the one in charge. In Parliament, the opposition parties hold a majority, but elections are coming up, and the opposition is split over whether to boycott them.
Otra cosa sería simplemente hacerle comparsa a una dictadura.
And while the politicians argue, people in Venezuela are struggling more than ever.
You can see how desperate the situation is here.
So if things are so bad, why does Maduro still hold power? What could happen if the opposition decides to sit out the elections? And why aren't there big protests anymore? For years, we've been watching Venezuela climb to the top of just about every awful index there is. Worst economy in the world, the highest murder rate, and a refugee crisis that rivals the one in Syria.
More than 5 million of its 29 million strong population have fled the country.
Pause it. She's asking a question, and I will give you the answer in 3 words. The United States. That's the reason. Their economic system went to crap. When that place, right, Venezuela has the most oil on this side of the earth. Why do people poor as hell? Because the United States over there. Yeah, causing coups over there, causing all kinds of problems. They're the ones doing it. Look at what's happening. So you see the economy going to trash, and they trying to put their own puppet up. Go ahead.
That's down to a combination of bad economic policy, corruption, and in the last 2 years, sanctions. And this is how hard it is for people to feed themselves. Hyperinflation has made Venezuela's currency, the bolivar, almost worthless. The minimum wage is 1.2 million bolivares a month. That's just over $1. At that rate, you'd have to work 2 months to buy a carton of eggs, and prices go up every week. It's a mess, but it wasn't always this bad. Venezuela was once the place to be in Latin America.
Caracas, the swinging city of Venezuela.
Its huge oil reserves helped build a booming economy, but over time, corruption and inequality grew, and the shine started to wear off. Enter President Hugo Chavez. His social programs were popular, but they relied on taking over businesses, controlling the currency, and high oil prices, which eventually crashed. So by the time Chavez died, his vice president, Nicolas Maduro, inherited an economy in a lot of trouble. Then 2018 happened. Maduro said he won the presidential race, but the opposition and a lot of countries disagreed.
There was no international observation. The main opposition coalition was actually barred from presenting candidates under its unified ticket.
So the opposition basically said the presidency is vacant, and according to the Constitution, the president of the parliament should take over and call new elections. That man was Juan Guaido.
The Maduro government felt like they were being usurped. And actually, it's ironic because Juan Guaido has referred to Nicolas Maduro as a usurper, but the other side feels the same way.
So for the last 2 years, both men have laid claim to the presidency. Most opposition parties consider Guaido to be the acting president. He's also recognized by nearly 60 countries, including most of Latin America.
You good. Maduro is the president. Maduro is the president. Well, who's behind the whole thing? The Eagle. The Eagle. They had a booming economy. They still have that oil. You notice it said sanctions. They put sanctions on them, right? And that's what they do. What did they just do to Russia? Sanctions. Real quick, go back to Google and type in, why did Japan bomb Pearl Harbor? All this stuff go hand in hand, y'all. Hand in hand. The eagle, the beast, they have a certain way of doing things. When you understand the wiles of the devil. Go to the Wikipedia. Yeah. And I'll find it. I know where it's at. Scroll down. No, go back up. Go back up some more. Keep going. All right, now go back down. Go down. It's going to give you the reasons why, and then at the bottom of why, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Hold on. Go up. Well, that's them declaring war. Yeah, keep going down. Scroll back up to where is cause? Approach and attack. I don't want that. Scroll back up. I don't know. We're not going to spend all day looking for it. So the main reason that they attacked was the U.S. had put crippling sanctions on Japan. Crippling sanctions. So they were pretty upset about it, and they decided to attack first. That's the point I'm getting at. Because of crippling sanctions, they attack. That's actually imposing sanctions on someone is a type of war. Yeah, so you can exit back out there. Let's go back to the videos. I think I sent you one. I'm not sure. Oh, I got it sitting here in the queue. Yeah, there it is. So we were talking about the different countries that were sending weapons to Ukraine. There's just too much stuff for even to get into it all. So not only did you have these countries sending weapons, which, in my opinion, if I'm fighting you and somebody handing you stuff to fight me with, I'm going to consider you an enemy also.
Too, right.
Yeah.
So why would I allow you to set up in my backyard?
Right. Go ahead, play that. Everybody's talking about what they're doing. Yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They're sending in mercenaries. We're going to touch that a little bit too. But they're sending in mercenaries. And Russia realizes this. They got great intel. Go ahead, play that.
Other foreign powers are providing hundreds of millions of euros worth of military supplies to Ukraine, with the EU saying it will give 450 million euros of weaponry. Germany is sending 1,000 anti-tank weapons and 500 Stinger anti-aircraft systems, while Denmark has also announced plans to send anti-tank weapons. Sweden, meanwhile, is sending 5,000 anti-tank weapons, as well as body armour and over 100,000 field rations. Well, we spoke to guests about NATO's stance on the conflict.
I'm very concerned about that. I mean, first of all, let's face it. It seems to me that NATO, and in particular the United States, did everything they could, one, to provoke this war, to provoke Russia into it, and to egg Ukraine on into acting in aggressive ways themselves. For example, with Zelensky saying very recently that maybe he should get nuclear weapons again. That's what I understand may have tipped it. So in the meantime, they provoked this. Then when it happened, they basically stood back and watched it happen and have been watching it happen. And now that they're entering peace talks, they're sending in lethal military aid. Again, what's NATO doing? To me, this is only adding fuel to the fire. It does not contribute to peace talks. And again, it's just more provocation.
The aggression has been ramped up. NATO continues to say we are not a threat to Russia, while in the meantime, they're providing billions of dollars with the U.S. together, billions of dollars in weapons for Ukraine to kill Russians. So there's a real proxy war going on here between the U.S., the EU, and Russia. The Ukrainians are in the middle. They're the ones that are the ones getting shot. They're fighting and dying for the U.S., not for their own independence.
Because they realize how ridiculous it is. You can make speeches and say one thing, but you're always going to be looked at according to your actions. It's where actions speak louder than words. Now, I'm trying to find this video. I'm not sure if I even saved it, where the Russian Minister of Defense is warning. Damn, he's warning. So you have mercenaries from other countries that are coming to fight on the side of Ukraine, which really is not, they're not on the side of Ukraine, they're against Russia. You know what, I really can't even say that, to be honest, because they could be, their reason for going could be because of them getting paid by that great eagle. It's really hard to tell. You know, I used to work for one of the eagles with the big beaks. And he asked me a question one day. That thing stuck with me for a long time. But he asked me, he was like, do you think black people are more honest or white people are more honest?
What kind of question is that?
No, he was trying to, that was his way of telling me that white people be lying.
Oh, okay, all right. You know your own people the devil.
Yeah, he know that. Yeah, he one of those big beak ones. He's eagle-ish.
That Jake saying songs. Let me see if I can find it right quick. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 58, and verse 3. It said, the wicked, which, that's who they are. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born.
As soon as they be born.
Speaking lies.
My goodness. So he know his people. Mm-hmm. I know mine somewhat. And what I don't know, I can read it in the scriptures. Scriptures ain't gonna lie about them. Where is it? I just want y'all to see this. So they know They're not ignorant. The Russians know that there are, mercenaries, freelance people that are joining the war just for money. Okay, there's the one video by him. Where's the other? They don't put out much stuff. I noticed about them. They don't put out much stuff. Even though they sponsor RT. They don't put much content on there. I don't see much content on them with them at all. There we go. There we go. Let me cue this bad boy up. These people are not ignorant.
Only people ignorant is you so-called blacks and you so-called Hispanics.
Mm-hmm. 100.
You're the only people that's ignorant in the earth that still run around playing, acting like children, living in a false sense of reality. You the only people that's playing, man. That's why we send out this message to our people, man, for you to wake up and see what the hell going on with you and with your people.
They know that, and they even had it on the news, bragging about how all these people wanted to go and help Ukraine because big bad Russia is going to invade them. They know this. They know this stuff.
They forced his hand.
Right. They did force his hand. Right. Well, go ahead, play that. Watch this. They're not stupid, but watch what they're saying. They know you. They know y'all coming in there. Watch what they got planned for you.
Западные страны нарастили отправку в районы боевых действий контрактников частных военных компаний. Прибывшие на Украину иностранные наемники совершают диверсии, налеты на российские колонны техники и подвоза материальных средств, а также прикрывающих авиацию. Все атаки иностранных наемников осуществляются с применением поставляемого Западом киевскому режиму оружия. Речь идет о противотанковых комплексах «Джавелин», «Нлоу» и переносных зенитных ракетных комплексах «Стингер», на освоение которых требуется серьезная подготовка. Военной разведкой США развернута масштабная агитационная кампания по набору контрактников ЧВК для отправки на Украину. Великобритания, Дания, Латвия, Польша и Хорватия законодательно разрешили своим гражданам участвовать в боевых действиях на территории Украины. Командование французского иностранного легиона планирует направить военнослужащих этнических украинцев для помощи киевскому
Pause right there real quick. So he telling you they know all this stuff. They know the countries that's sending them. Go ahead. But it says all the merchants sent by the West to help the regime are non-combatants. That means they ain't got a damn thing to do with it. Go ahead.
Западом в помощь киевскому националистическому режиму наемники по международному гуманитарному праву.
According to international humanitarian law, they don't have rights to a prisoner status. So what does that mean? That means they're going to kill you. Yeah, they can't be prisoners. They fighting a war against Ukraine. Then those soldiers that attack them or whatever, they overcome them, they can take them prisoner. But who are the other people? What's going to happen to them?
They just going to flat out kill them.
Right. You ain't got nothing to do with it. Mind your business.
Mind your business, right.
Go ahead.
They ain't gonna do
Право
that.
не являются комбатантами. Они не имеют.
Yeah, the best thing a foreign mercenary can expect upon being detained is to be arraigned, which means you're going to go to prison. If they don't kill you, you go into their prison. They keep playing around. One thing about them, they know the rules and they abide by them. America always trying to show them not abiding by the rules, and say they not abiding by the rules. You know what? We might as well, we're going to touch that too. Let this play, and then I'm going to look up something else real quick.
Самое хорошее, что ожидает иностранных наемников при задержании, это привлечение к уголовной ответственности. Призываем граждан иностранных государств, планирующих ехать воевать за киевский националистический режим, 7 раз подумать перед поездкой.
They better think 7 times before going in.
Yep. Warning them, man. Yeah. Keep listening to the U.S. Gonna get you toe up. Hold on, y'all. We ain't gonna be too much longer, y'all. I'm just trying to prove some stuff. Don't believe these people. Do not believe them.
Scripture tell us, man, never trust thy enemy,
Yep.
for as iron sharpened iron, so does his wickedness. So, man, the things that are written in here, Scripture tell you ain't nothing new under the sun. So the things that are written inside the Scriptures, they are playing out over and over and over again in the earth, different time periods. But there's nothing new under the sun. So we supposed to know the nature and the spirit of our enemies, of our oppressors. And our people in this time period, you forgotten. When you forgot who you were, when you forgot about God, you forgot. So in the midst of you forgetting, you also have forgotten about your enemies. So now you join hand in hand with them, but the scripture tell you, though hand in hand join the hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. So they the Most High not letting it get by. So that's why you so-called blacks, you so-called Hispanics, you got to return back to God before he bring all hell on earth, because you won't escape either. You living like them, you gonna get thrust right through with them, like the scripture tell you.
Yeah, that's why Revelation 18 said, don't partake in their sins.
Right.
Because then you're going to partake in that judgment. So this has been another big deal. I'm trying to find a video where CNN is accusing the Russians of attacking the nuclear power facility, which is complete madness. They got on the news and just puffed this story up, completely puffed this story up. So I'm trying to find that. Then I'm going to find you what was said when they went to the United Nations meeting. It was a completely different story. Liars. Just straight up liars. I mean, it's amazing to be able to catch people in lies like this. Go to CNN, man. Yeah, I got so many videos I've seen. No, hold off on that. I want to see the report on CNN first. I'll try to find it. It was just ridiculous.
Show y'all what's going on also according to the scripts. Let me see here. Because what you got right now is Satan against Satan.
Yep.
Devil against devil. This is what you got going on right now. This is the book of Mark, chapter 3 and verse 22. It says, and the scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, he have Beelzebub, and by the prince of the devils cast he out devils. So they was accusing Christ of being saying that one of the chiefest devils is with Christ. And it said, verse 23, it says, he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And it stopped with a question mark. How can Satan cast out Satan? This is what you got going on. Iran and America and Russia and China. Who they look, because they talking about China gonna go take over
Taiwan. That's their own territory.
Right, right. So, man, you got Satan casting out Satan all throughout the earth right now. But watch what the scripture says. It said, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. So even when you looking at America, it's white on white crime going on over here. White House being divided up. These people, they don't know. You got one group, they ready to look like calling Biden. Some of the people calling Biden weak.
Yeah,
it's the kingdom is being divided up against itself because it's time for this place to fall. This place is falling.
Oh my goodness. So I found it. Trying to decide which one.
That's the one we were talking about yesterday when I called you.
Yeah. Complete madness. We'll go with the story. A Ukraine nuclear plant under Russian attack. Boy. So we'll watch this, then we're going to watch when that Russian general tries to explain it. Go ahead, play that. I'm going to look for the last one. when they was at the UN. I mean, that jam was crazy.
We're getting some disturbing new video. These are live images of something we have just learned about from the Associated Press and Reuters. And these fireballs that you're seeing in the near ground are important and chilling. Here's what we've learned. Europe's largest nuclear power plant, the largest one on the continent, is in southern Ukraine. And this moment, it's reportedly being shelled by Russian troops. Now, that's according to the Associated Press. They're quoting the plant's spokesperson. But I've just gotten word that the Ukrainian foreign minister has now confirmed this to NBC News. He says the Russian army is firing from all sides of this nuclear power plant. Now the live stream has come down, but they tell us a fire has broken out on the site. The mayor of a nearby town telling Reuters news agency that the plant is on fire. And these explosions that you're seeing, this has just happened. We got this live stream up about 1 minute ago. We were preparing to tell this breaking news. NBC News is not there, so we couldn't independently verify. So we had it from the Associated Press, we had it from Reuters, and we were waiting for someone from the Ukrainian government before going with it, and now we have it. And just as I began speaking, these flashes of fire started exploding on the screen. Again, what you're looking at is the largest nuclear power plant on the continent of Europe. It's in southern Ukraine, and according to a power plant spokesperson and others, Russians are firing from all sides on it. The fire was in the background earlier. When we first got this live stream up, it was in black and white. We couldn't see much of anything. We weren't even sure if it was worthy to show you because it just looked sort of like a power plant with lights in the background. And then, just as I started speaking, the fire that you're seeing on your screen right now, the nuclear power plant's live stream hadn't been showing
All
much,
right, you can
but
drop
now
it.
it does.
Bunch of divas. Bunch of divas. You're supposed to examine a matter, not the Eagles.
I think.
We don't even know what's going on yet. Let me see, which one did I just send you? Wait a minute. I said the same? Oh, that's two different things. I sent it twice? No, it's two different ones. All right, the last one I just sent you. Play that one. So, no. Let's go to the general first. So this was on a bunch of channels about Russia was attacking a nuclear power plant. Like, these people are stupid. Why would you, if you gonna shell a nuclear, what sense does that make? What would happen to the people doing it? People so dramatic and so full of lies. Go ahead, play the general, the Minister of Defense, whatever he's called.
Blamed the attack of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant on Ukrainian saboteurs, calling it a monstrous provocation.
Hold on, pause it.
Lost.
See, he says saboteurs. Didn't he say that when there was mercenaries coming in? Saboteurs. Go ahead.
Night, on the territory adjacent to the power plants, the Kyiv nationalist regime attempted to stage a monstrous provocation. On March 4, at about 2 a.m., while patrolling the protected area adjacent to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, a Rosgvardia mobile patrol was attacked by a Ukrainian sabotage group.
See?
In order to provoke retaliatory fire at the building from the windows of several floors of a training complex located outside the power plant, heavy fire from small arms was opened on the Rosgvardia servicemen. The firing points of Ukrainian saboteurs in the building of a training complex were suppressed by the return fire of the Russian patrol from small arms. Leaving the building, the Ukrainian sabotage group set fire to the train.
Oh. They set
The purpose
fire
of the
to it.
provocation of the Kyiv regime at a nuclear facility is an attempt to accuse Russia of creating a source of radioactive contamination. All
Yeah,
this
the
testifies to the
saboteurs.
criminal intent of the Kyiv regime or the complete loss of control over the actions of Ukrainian sabotage groups with the participation of foreign mercenaries by Zelensky.
See, I thought it was coming, but it already done started. All right, now go to the UN one. So they're trying to make it look like Russia is trying to destroy that plant, that they're doing reckless things. Look at all the different devices that they've planned to do evil, just to try to demonize Russia for all the wicked that they've already done. Now, they're in front of the United Nations now. Let's see if it's the same story. Go ahead.
Ambassador? Mr. Ambassador, what?
Sorry, you will hear everything in the call. Sorry.
Russia's UN delegation under scrutiny as it arrived at a Security Council meeting hastily convened at the United Kingdom's request.
This is the first time a state has attacked a fueled and functioning nuclear power plant, and it is clearly outlawed by international law and the Geneva Conventions.
Nuclear facilities in Ukraine.
The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, briefing via video link from onboard a plane, confirmed a building adjacent to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant was hit, but said its 6 nuclear reactors remain intact. Russia blamed Ukrainian saboteurs for provoking its forces in the area.
Today's meeting is another attempt by Kiev authorities to kindle artificial hysteria around what is happening in Ukraine, and they're being assisted in this by their Western backers.
Ukraine accused Russia of nuclear terrorism and warned that no one is safe.
We have survived the night that could have stopped the history of Ukraine and Europe. Indeed, every day provides us with newer and newer evidence that it is not only Ukraine under Russian attack. It is Europe. It is the entire world.
Pause it.
It is humanity.
Do y'all understand how stupid that comment was? Even his thought process. What country is next door to Ukraine? You got to be kidding me. I've seen people reach. We see people reach, all the time in the scripts. That's a hell of a reach right there. They trying to destroy all of Europe by shooting at a nuclear facility. Come on, man. They right next door. The radiation would destroy themselves.
Right, and our people is sitting and they really believe in that.
Matter of fact, the representative for the United States is a sister. Go ahead, let it play.
See.
Many countries demanded Russia's withdrawal and expressed concern for the Ukrainian crews left manning not only the Zaporizhzhia facility, but also the Chernobyl site, also under Russian control.
So this imminent danger continues. We narrowly avoided a disaster last night. The international community must be unanimous in demanding Russia's forces stop their dangerous assault.
The Director General of the
Pause. You gotta be blind, y'all. You have to be blind to believe that. When they got to the first nuclear facility they came across, they helped the Ukrainians guard it. Why would you attack a nuclear facility? What is wrong with these people, man? All praises to the Most High, we can see the things we see. I mean, they are asleep, yo. They are asleep.
It's that strong delusion the Most High said he was going to give his people.
Yep. Let it play.
The AEA is offering to meet with Russian and Ukrainian officials at the Chernobyl nuclear site in the hopes of reaching an agreement to secure all of the country's nuclear facilities, amid dire warnings that the worst of this conflict is yet to come. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, the United Nations.
You know what? I agree with them that the worst is yet to come. Because as time goes on and they realize they can't win, they're gonna do some horrific things. Even to their own people. I guarantee you. I see it coming. And they're gonna throw the blame, like they usually do, on Russia or whoever it is that they consider the aggressor. All right, we're just gonna touch a few more things. We're gonna show you how some of these other nations are waking up. And they're like, we don't believe y'all. We know the history of this. We ain't falling for the little tricks that you're trying to pull. They were fired upon, and if you return fire, you're being reckless. You're trying to kill everybody. Yeah, so this is the representative from Venezuela. And ask yourself, so this is Telesur, another news company that they laugh at. People in the United States laugh at this. Watch what he says. Go ahead.
Señor Presidente.
Mr. President, as a founding member of the United Nations, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela is a firm defender of the purposes and principles enshrined in the founding charter of our organization, as well as in norms of international law. Mr. President, the situation in Ukraine has been broadly debated in recent years. In addressing this matter, our country, faithful to our diplomacy of peace, has called for a peaceful settlement of any dispute which might exist in the Eastern European region. In that spirit, in 2015, as a non-permanent member of the Security Council, we voted in favor of Resolution 2202, the package of measures for the implementation of the Minsk agreements. In that year, we built a diplomatic path agreed to by everyone to find a peaceful solution to the civil war in Ukraine. However, and sadly, these agreements were wasted after 7 years of violations within Ukraine, which widened the national divide and increased the suffering of the civilian population.
How is it he can see that? How is it he can see that, but our people can't? Everybody that's underneath the influence of Esau, they can't see nothing. Go ahead.
Domestic crisis was heightened by another factor, the growing outside pressure of the NATO military bloc towards Ukraine itself, with the destructive effect of security assurances for all, in particular for the Russian Federation, and which are the basis for security architecture in Europe. The steady expansion of NATO towards Eastern Europe has added a further threat, strategic in nature, to the national crisis in Ukraine. Today, we are seeing a crisis at 3 levels with regrettable loss of human life, and the developments on the ground are changing at a high rate of speed. What arose as a violent national divide in Ukraine has escalated into an international military crisis. Currently, less than a week since the onset of the conflict, we are heading dangerously towards a 3rd level. That is an escalation between 4 nuclear powers, which, in changing their strategic security balances and attempting to destabilize one of them through an economic blockade, in this case the Russian Federation, could lead to the unleashing of a conflict of global proportions. This situation has no precedent in our history since the Second World War. Mr. President, in the current circumstances in Eastern Europe,
that's
security is a value.
That's enough. We'll go to the next one. We're almost at 2 hours, so let's move it along.
Spirit Alley.
So several countries realize it, and they're like, "Look, we're not in agreement with y'all. You know this is provoked. Stop trying to demonize them." If somebody walk up and slap your mama, you gonna say, "Let's talk about it." You know what I mean? But suppose they do it for 8 years.
Keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah, go ahead.
In other news, Iran has pointed the finger of blame for the current situation in Ukraine at Washington. The country's supreme leader added that Kiev's suffering is just the latest in a long line of orchestrated events by America.
Damn! That's what we've been saying.
The U.S. regime creates crises, lives off of crises, and feeds on various crises in the world.
Ukraine is another victim of this policy.
Now, to get more information on that, we're going to cross live now to Fawad Izadi, Associate Professor at the University of Tehran. Thanks a lot for joining us. First, I want to talk about the Iran Supreme Leader's statement that he thinks that the American government and Western countries are to blame for the Ukrainian crisis and much else besides. What do you think is the logic behind that claim?
And Iran has been suffering from aggressive American policies for the last 40 years or so. So the country, the people, the leadership, politicians, ordinary citizens are very much familiar with American aggression. And what he was talking about today was history, the fact that there was a coup in 2014 in Kiev, the fact that the Russian minority, the Russian-speaking minority in Ukraine was under a lot of pressure, the fact that 14,000 people have been killed since 2014, most of them victims of aggression that's coming from the other side. And if the Americans did not orchestrate the coup in 2014, things would be much more different. We remember John McCain coming to the Maidan in Kiev, people like Chris Murphy, even John Kerry.
You good. Let's go on to the next one. These people, you know what? And this is the thing that surprised me. This is the same thing that surprised me. Al, go to that scripture in Judah. Was it Judah 3? If they God be with them. Judah 5.
Syria
Yeah, so the nations keep records.
It's the book of Judith and the Apocrypha, chapter 5 and verse 20. It says, "Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them."
So before that, he starts giving the whole history. They know the history of Esau. They know of them as the Franks.
That's why he said crisis after crisis after crisis.
Right. They know. But our people don't. We don't care. We get wrapped up in sports and
NBA finals.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. And not paying attention to what's going on around us or our history. But they know. They know. Everywhere this man goes, he does the same thing over and over. Go to the next video. You good on that. You're going to like that one.
Syria condemned the political pressure and media defamation campaign carried out by the United States and its allies against Russia, an escalation that seeks to maintain chaos in the world at the service of the West's hegemonic agendas, as Damascus portrays it. Let's see more on this.
We stand up against Western policies orchestrated by the United States, which have become a severe threat to international peace and security.
Pause it.
Syria.
Did y'all hear that? Rewind it so they can hear it again. These other nations know how they operate. And yet, they still will deal with Esau and be cordial with him and everything. That show you that the Most High got the angels holding them back. They don't have that spirit on them yet to be like, we're going to destroy these people.
Right.
Go ahead.
Stand up against Western policies orchestrated by the United States, which have become a severe threat to international peace and security.
International peace and security.
Its support for the Russian special operation in Donbass. It also works to increase cooperation with Russia's allies, Iran, Iraq, and on this fight against terrorist groups and the United States' intentions of re-sowing the seeds of war in Syria. We have assessed the situation in Ukraine and have agreed to keep open the consultations over the situation, development, and its repercussions. Likewise, we agree on the improvement of bilateral cooperation, even when we feel great satisfaction for the level of collaboration showed in the fight against terrorist groups that led to the expulsion of extremists who control large parts of a country. We're going to keep on building on this cooperation, and we're going to consolidate it in many areas, mostly in the economy. Russia's special
You can drop
military
that. You can drop
operation-
that. So the other nations are trying to be diplomatic. When the great eagle, he claims he's trying to do things through diplomacy, but he's stabbing you in the back. Matter of fact, he pushing that joint in and twisting and breaking it off, and then smiling at you. You want to pull something?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Is there? Hold on. Let's see what we got here. Now, this one is going to involve you so-called blacks and Hispanics. Watch what Ling Ling say. Go ahead, play that. Pay close attention. Close attention.
The U.S. government committed so many atrocities across the world. So many Muslims were murdered or displaced because of U.S. wars and bombs. They committed a genocide towards indigenous people, and there are now still systematic discrimination towards people of color in the United States. Yet they are still considered as the beacon of democracy, the beacon of human rights defender. They must have a really powerful propaganda skills to be.
They must have a really powerful propaganda. Yes. Television. That's sorcery.
Sorcery, right? That witchcraft. That mass media, man. That's how he do it.
Yo. Revelation 18, man.
I was about to say it's Revelation. I was going there. I ain't had it on the top of my head.
Dang. 7, verse 7. We hit it last night, but now it give you deeper meaning right now.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 7. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she say in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
So they actually think that way. Nothing's going to happen to them.
Right. Even our people. Got our people thinking ain't nothing going to happen.
Yep. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day.
One day. Damn. Go ahead.
Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire.
Just like we read in Revelation 17. Go ahead.
For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her. When they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
Right, 1 hour. 1 hour. That's why, like I said in the first couple of verses, come out of her, my people.
Right.
Now, 1 second, I'm looking for one particular verse. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. But sometimes I like doing this. Not preempted at all, just going by the Spirit. I'm looking for her sorceries.
Man, that's what I don't think it's in there. I don't think it's in 18 though.
For the multitude. So it's in 47 and then it's in, I think it.
Let me know you get it.
Verse 23.
23. Yeah, is that what you're looking for? You see sources at the bottom, at the end of 23? It's towards the end of the scripture.
Damn. Yep, that's it. That's it.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 23. And the light of a candle shall no more, let me read it again, excuse me. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries.
By your sorceries, the sorceries of this place. And we've been showing it to you. That main thing, that propaganda, everybody believe it. Everybody thinks because of the things that they have that God is with them.
Right.
And that's not the case. They are vessel. They the vessel of wrath upon the whole earth. The Lord's getting his he using them for his vengeance. Then he's gonna take vengeance on the avengers. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. It's only a few people that are speaking out against him. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
This the book of Psalms, chapter 17, and I'm gonna start at verse 13. This the book of Psalms, chapter, because what Jake was just saying, man, how the Most High is using these people. This is the Lord's sword that he using right here. Watch this. This the book of Psalms, chapter 17 and verse 13. It says, arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. We know who the wicked is according to Malachi 1. We know who the wicked is. Watch this. So it said, deliver him, which is thy sword. Verse 14. From men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children and leave the rest of their substance to their babies. So showing you, man, the wicked, this is the Most High's sword. The Most High uses men on the earth to complete his mission. Just like he using the men of Israel to now bring forth back what? That righteousness, that righteous spirit. Bring that spirit back upon the earth to his people.
100% right. To back up Revelation 18, I'm just going to read one verse in Isaiah 47, and that's verse 9. It says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. So them enchantments and sorceries, you see it on TV. It's their media. They give us everything. White man Jesus, to these people you look up to, that's giving you the news, and you think they might be righteous people and telling you the truth, when they pushing nothing but lies and propaganda for these people.
They're telling their vision. Tell a vision. It's their vision, but that vision is not according to the scriptures.
Yes, sir. One last little video clip before we go, and I'm going to give you, this is a great clip. Matter of fact, I need you to put this on a page somewhere. We need to, there's a couple of YouTube addresses, videos that I want y'all to look at when you get the time. And maybe we'll just put them on Saints of Christ page later so you can get to it easy.
And we are.
So I just sent you a video. Go to it, and I'm going to give you a timestamp. There's a lot going on. Man, this Deacon Tawab sent me this, man. This thing is awesome. It's just unbelievable. Matter of fact, go to the 50-minute mark. So this guy, make it 45 minute mark. This guy is over there right now. he went, did some video, did a live video, and those neo-Nazis found out about it, and they came looking for him. Just so happened, he went outside to smoke a cigarette, and they came. They came and got other people, and they took him and killed him. And he gonna show the evidence. And that map, see this map? That map is of, I guess, of like 24 hours ago. That's where the Russian forces are. And they've almost got the army surrounded. Yep. But there's a little blue section right there that's almost enveloped. They're coming around them. It's about to be over. Go ahead, play that.
Government is corrupt and frankly evil. They are bad people. They were put there, they are in power. You know, they were backed by a gangster billionaire oligarch called Ihor Kolomoisky.
And he's the current president of Ukraine, right? For those that might not know.
Zelensky is the current president, and he's like being lionized, and you know, he's like, you know, everybody thinks he's so cool. He's a criminal. This is what he is. He started as an actor, okay, and he was a successful actor. And what happened was that in 2015, this oligarch, this Ukrainian oligarch, a guy called Ihor Kolomoisky, who is from Dnipropetrovsk, now called Dnipro, well, in Ukraine, of course. Well, this guy, he had political ambitions, this oligarch, and he failed. He ran for president in 2014. He got like 2% of the vote. Nobody paid attention to him, right? And so what he decided to do was that create his own political party, and he created this TV show called Servant of the People that was about a school teacher who goes viral because of this video ranting about the corruption in Ukraine. And the TV show is about how this president, it's like a comedy, but it's about how this president wants Ukraine to join NATO and the EU. And this Kolomoisky, he owns the largest media company, or one of the largest media companies in Ukraine. And so he pushed this show, which from people who have watched it, I don't myself have watched it, but people who have watched it said, yeah, it's amusing. It's a little, you know, it's a TV show, right? But they pushed it really hard. And it ran from 2014 to 2019. And get this, in 2018, 2019, Kolomoisky, through agents of his own, created a party called Servant of the People. And by the way, everything that I'm telling you, this is on Wikipedia, okay? This is not me giving you like insider information. This is known, okay?
Yeah. For other guys in here that are saying biased about Coach, don't worry, just keep listening, guys. You know, and all this stuff he's telling you guys is the truth. You can look this up.
Yeah, so, Zelensky was an actor and a successful one before this TV show. And that was part of the reason that he was hired, because he was an extremely successful actor. I mean, he was like a movie star in Ukraine, right? And he's on the show, and the show's premise is that he's trying to get Ukraine to join NATO and the European Union. And there are funny scenes of Zelensky when he was an actor talking to, you know, actors playing Angela Merkel or actors playing Donald Trump, you know, that kind of scenario. All of it to encourage the notion of Ukraine joining the EU and NATO, which Russia did not want at all costs, okay? So anyway, they sort of like created this political party called Servant of the People, and they put Zelensky as the presidential candidate, you know, and that's how he became president. And they spent so much money on PR and all kinds of stuff, also all kinds of shenanigans. Now, this Kolomoisky guy, you got to understand who he is. This guy is fervently anti-Russian. I mean, like really anti-Russian. I mean, he hates the Russians with a passion, right? And he is also the guy who has financed a bunch of militia forces in Ukraine, including the ones that have been repressing people in the Donbass region, okay? Now, these militia, they're bad motherfuckers, okay? One of them is called the Azov Battalion, that people have heard about. Right now, they're making their last stand at Mariupol. These guys are thugs, simple as that, okay? They are thugs and they are gangsters. I mean, Kolomoisky is actually Jewish, but he went so far as to fund neo-Nazi groups. I mean, it's like, yeah, to put support, paid support, muscle behind Zelensky. And the Zelensky regime has shut down opposition television stations or Russian language television stations. He has persecuted and harassed and imprisoned and disappeared journalists. He's also gone after political opponents. He's even gone after using mechanisms of the state, illegally gone after the previous president, who was kind of like a piece of shit, you know, but not as big of a piece of shit as Zelensky is turning out to be. And now what's going on, and this has started this past Monday, the Zelensky regime has been persecuting, you know, like really small fry people. Can you pull up the Daily Mail article, please?
All right.
Aren't you nervous that they might come after you?
Well, they did already. On Wednesday, they, you know, some of their thugs came looking for me to my home. I don't know how they got my address. Well, actually, I do, probably because of the, these thugs have access to municipal records, and the municipal records state where I live. And these thugs came for me, and it was just chance that I wasn't there. I was outside smoking a cigarette when I saw them walk in. You know?
Chrome tab, Mo. Chrome tab.
And they walked in, and I was warned by people in my building that they were looking for me, and I got the hell out of there. You know? And other people later told me that how they were banging on the door of my apartment and just yelling my name and wanting me and all the rest of it. And yeah, I slipped out by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Go to the top of the article. Yeah, let me see it.
Yeah, pro-Russian mayor of city in eastern Ukraine who welcomed Putin's invasion is found shot dead in the street after being kidnapped from his home.
Yeah, that guy. That guy is Mayor Vladimir Struk. He was the mayor of a small city, a city of 18,000 people. Okay, so the guy, I mean, no disrespect to the man, but he was small fry. He was a small-time politician. And he had said that, you know, the invasion was not such a bad thing. It might be a good thing, blah, blah. And they kidnapped him and then they shot him. Okay. Can you go to the next tab, please? Oh, and I forgot the best part. And it's in that article there from the Daily Mail that the government of Zelensky, one of the officials of the Ministry of the Interior, you know, celebrated the fact that Struk was killed by thugs, because he was kidnapped by thugs, and he was shot through the heart and dumped in the center of his own town. And that's clearly to send a message to everybody that, you know, don't say anything that we don't like in the middle of this war, because this happened, his body was found Wednesday or Thursday, I forget, okay? So this just happened. I think he was kidnapped on this past Monday, you know? Go to the next one, please.
You want the Telegram one, right?
Yeah, the one of the two pictures.
Yeah, okay. So Mo, hit stop share on that one.
That nigga got wrecked.
Yeah, man.
Holy.
This shit is crazy.
Damn.
Yeah. No, this is gangster shit. This is real gangster shit. I mean, no fun, and not gangster shit like, oh, that's so cool, that's gangster. No, I'm talking about like they're gonna fucking blow your head off, okay? Or they're gonna pull out your fingernails and, you know, ram a piece of hot iron up your ass before they shoot you in the head. That kind of gangster. That kind of not fun Eastern European gangster. And so, yeah, they came looking for me. And thank God, for various reasons, my family is not here or there in my apartment. And I myself got the fuck out of there. You know, I scrammed, okay? And so, yeah.
Here we go, right here.
I'm underground. Now, this here is, can you read the name of the official? His name, I can't pronounce it.
I'll read it for you right now. So it goes, pictures of Ukrainian lawmaker Nestor Shufrik.
Shufrik.
Okay.
Yeah.
When he was picked up by vigilantes.
Yeah. See, on the left-hand side is the vigilante who picked him up holding a knife to his throat. And on the right is a picture of him, you know, bandaged up and being given over to the SBU, which is the equivalent of the Ukraine KGB. Okay. Yeah, that was. Look, I'm a YouTuber. I have a relatively large audience for YouTube, but I'm a small fry. I'm a microscopic celebrity. I mean, I'm a flea in this whole thing, right? If that. And they came looking for a guy like me. Okay, I mean, what the fuck is going on? You know, and the thing that's going on that's really crucial is that right now everybody's moving around. A lot of people are fleeing the country, and really know who has been disappeared by the Zelensky regime. Okay, we don't. And there are probably a lot of people journalists, politicians who've just been disappeared, and nobody has no.
Hey, coach. All right, so it was.
Deception, man. Deception.
Yeah, that's all we're gonna show for tonight, y'all. I mean, this thing is in this little short period of time, this stuff, the actions, the things that have been happening over there, it's just endless. You could go on forever showing the devices of these people. But the thing for us is don't believe on them. Don't put your strength on them.
Put your trust in them.
Like I was saying earlier, people, somebody asked me about the mark of the beast. Well, that's when you not putting your trust in the Lord and you putting it in these other people. Let me see if I can find this scripture real quick. It's not that apparent when you look at it. Pay attention. Exodus 13 and verse 16.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 13 and verse 16. And it shall be for a token upon thy hand, and for frontlets between thy eyes.
So it should be in your actions and in your mind. The Lord you supposed to put your strength in the Lord. Go ahead.
For by strength of hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt.
Right. He brought us out of Egypt by strong hand. We supposed to put our trust in his arm, his strength. Isaiah 30.
Yep. Damn, they in the spirit. Put their trust in Pharaoh.
Yep. This is the problem.
Yeah.
People be arguing, it's a chip and it's this and that. No. It's you putting your everything in those people, which you really see how they are. They put on the front. They make you think that these upstanding people, but like we read in Habakkuk, his spirit is not, even though he's lifted up, his spirit is not upright in him. It's not upright. They don't know how to walk upright. Verse 1.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me.
Right, not of the Lord. Go ahead.
And that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
Still not putting your trust in the Lord in the other nations. Go ahead.
That they add sin to sin.
Adding sin to sin. Instead of correcting yourself and following after the Lord, no, you're going to stay in sin and follow after the other nations. Pharaoh and his people. The Egyptians. Well, this is modern day Egypt we're in now.
Right.
Go ahead.
That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked in my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
See, get that? To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh. Come on.
And to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
Putting their trust in that. Go ahead.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
Your confusion. So all this stuff going on right now, we ain't confused. We done put our trust in the Lord.
Right.
Revelation 16. So you think about all the people that want to go over there and fight and holler and pray for Ukraine and all this stuff. Who have they put their trust in?
Man.
No, it ain't 16 I won't. It's 13. 13, yeah. Verse 16.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
So, like you saw it, you have all these nations that follow after them, and agree with them. They sitting up there in the United Nations and everybody on one consent condemning Russia for what they doing. But then you got others that's standing up and saying, no, we know why Russia went in there. Y'all know the history of this. How you going to ignore it? Right. So we can't be following after these people. That's the master point. Don't follow after them. Don't put your trust in them. They not to be trusted. They will smile in your face.
Stab you in your back.
And yeah, stab you in your back and twist it around and then pass it to somebody else, then rip your heart out and drink the blood from it and all that. You can't trust these eagles, y'all. You got anything to add? All right, so with that, y'all, we're going to end it here. Hope you learned something, mainly not to trust these eagles and understanding who these eagles are. They got a job to do. They're going to fulfill it. You better be on the right side, the side of the Lord. Like we was talking about at camp today. You got to go through the fire. There's only one way you can go through the fire. You got to have Christ in you.
That's right.
So, well, we got to hit the scripture. 1 Corinthians 13. Can't forget that. I don't want leadership calling me, hey, man. 13 and 13.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 13. And now abideth faith.
Faith.
Hope.
Hope.
Charity.
Charity.
These three, but the greatest of these is charity.
Right. The greatest of these is charity. Don't forget, y'all. And charity covers a multitude of things, and that charity will cover a multitude of sins also. So with that, y'all, I'm Brother Jacob. Brother Al. And we say shalom.
What's going on, you guys? This is Judea, and I have something amazing to tell you guys. I want to introduce to you Showing Charity on Wheels. Showing Charity on Wheels is a non-profit organization helping our communities fight against hunger. It's a mobile food pantry that travels to various locations in Virginia. To name a few, you have Richmond, Petersburg, Chesterfield, and other local areas. Showing Charity on Wheels' goal is to help provide nutrition and healthy food in our communities. To get access to that, you can visit our website at www.showingcharityonwheels.com and fill out the sign-up sheet, or you can also donate on our website, or you can use our Cash App, $Showing Charity OW. Every helping hand matters.